Hi team, welcome to the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Coming up, the Wings of the Architect Mount and Nightmare Dread Fortress. But first, SWTOR news and the fun stuff going on in our guild, Alea Iacta Est. Our astromech today is EPC 105, who just won the role on Wings of the Escape Pod. Mount up, buddy. With me, as always, is Seema. Hi Seema, how's it going?
It's going really well. I did a lot of driving this weekend, so I had a chance to read a book, and I decided to read this book that was recommended to me by a family member called The Rook by Daniel O'Malley. It was really, really good story. It's what I would call light fare, but even so, it was a layered story. The characters were interesting. The adventure was good. I recommend it. The premise of it is that basically the narrator wakes up and has no memory at all. And it turns out she's a fairly highly placed operative in this fairly secret agency that protects the British Isles from the supernatural. So that's the setting. And then the story is told via her adventures interwoven with letters that are written to her from herself before she lost her memory. So it's interspersed like that. So it was good. I like it. And the title is taken from her title in the organization, which is Rook, and other sample titles are Bishop and Pawn, so it's like from the game of chess, which is, I like that little detail.
Yeah. Yeah, that book was on my
So,
radar even before I heard that you picked it up, so I'm glad to hear that it was amusing. I'll
yeah,
have to pick it
yeah,
up
I
at some point
recommend
too.
it. I mean, yes, yes. And what about you? I heard you have a new desk. What's up with that?
Yes, yes, I do. I have a new standing desk. It's not rigged. I could make it move. I could make it move right now, but it's not. I don't think my green screen is big enough. It's not rigged to. I don't want to do it right in the middle of the podcast, but it is great. I'm already getting a big kick out of it. It's a really nice one. I have somewhat of a tech and office equipment budget from work that covered a big chunk of the cost because it is quite an expensive one from Next Desk. But it's 79 inches long. It goes up really high. It goes up like almost to my chin when I'm standing.
Wow.
If I wanted to raise it up all the way, it'll go really low. Also, it's so full range of motion, push button, and I've got two presets now for the heights I like. I'm already getting a lot of use out of it because, especially when I'm doing a lot of running, I get cramped up when I'm sitting down for too long. My legs just
Yeah.
get real stiff. So being able to stand up every 15, 20 minutes, go back and forth. And I've even done some gaming while standing, and it works just fine. I've done a little bit of Star Wars. I did some other stuff, and no problem. In fact, if it's something really exciting, if it's like action, like PvP, I don't need, I could stand for like an hour and not even notice it. If I'm just standing there doing something boring like reading email, then I eventually want to sit down a lot quicker. I don't know what the deal is.
No, I was just gonna say that that sounds like it would be ideal for PvP.
Yeah, yeah. When I do anything like PvP or Galactic Starfighter, I'm sort of
All over the
bouncing
place
around
anyway.
anyway. So I think standing would even make that more would provide me more range of motion, which I don't know what that'll do. That'll make me
But
better
you could
or
actually
worse.
do like a poor man's version of that by, putting your laptop on a higher, like on a counter or something.
Yeah, so since I did this, I saw a couple. I traded some tweets and some notes back and forth with a couple people. There are some other nice kits out there that you can get that either they're fixed desks. There's also a system from Geek Desk, I guess that's just sort of the base, and you can put your own top on it to save expenses. That sounds really good. So there's quite a lot of options out there. I would recommend it, even if you had just a higher table or like a kitchen countertop that you could just go stand at once in a while with a laptop. Try it out, see if you like it, because I think it feels good. So
And in the event, it's a good idea to take a break from sitting every so often anyway. Even if you don't have a fancy desk, just get up and walk around, go get a drink of water.
yeah, I don't think it's as dramatic as this, but the hot the hot thing to say these days is standing is the new, or sitting is the new smoking. That's what people say now. You know, you gotta stand up. You sit all day, and it's so unhealthy for you.
It's going to be really hard for me to quit sitting.
Maybe you could get like
be able to quit cold turkey.
Get a chair patch or something for your arm. But I think that's it for desk news. Let's see what else is going on in Star Wars news.
Now an Imperial News Network report.
So the nightlife event ends tonight. So Max, you've still got time to get that Rancor.
Oh, I got time.
However, I don't need the time because I just got my Rancor.
Yeah, can you believe it? That is crazy. Like,
so
5 minutes ago.
The moral of the story is procrastinate everything.
Yes. Yeah, I invented a new tool for that. I call it Xeno's alarm clock. So I'm setting it for when the Nar Shaddaa Nightlife event ends, and the alarm goes off halfway between now and that point when it ends, and then you just hit the snooze button, and it goes off again halfway between then and the remaining time. You just keep hitting snooze. It's infinite. Then you basically have infinite time.
Do it because there's
Then you got infinite time.
That's right.
We also have news of a live stream going on this week. So I expect next week we're going to have hopefully some more Fallen Empires news to talk about. So this week on Wednesday, there will be a live stream in place of the PAX West, PAX Prime con event that's going out on the West Coast. They won't be at the con, but they are doing this live stream in its place, and they're doing it at 5 p.m. Pacific time in order to sort of line up when people would be for the people that are at PAX Prime and that's about the time that they would need it to fit into their schedule. In theory, we'll see parts of Chapter 3, and it's some of the stuff that people saw at Gamescom behind closed doors. We will get a demo of some of the stuff in Chapter 3. They're going to try to keep it away from spoilers, but give us some idea of the gameplay. They also said they'll be diving into details on how companions work in Fallen Empires. What they will not be talking about, which people kept asking about, and they decided to post and be explicit, they are not yet ready to talk about how crafting works in Fallen Empires or what any of the changes might be to that, but they promised that information will be coming soon. So they're going to do the live stream, the demo, they're going to do a little bit of talk about companions, and then they're going to do some Q&A. Just set everybody's expectations setting correctly. I expect the Q&A to be relatively light, as it typically is. So don't get your hopes up that they're going to spill the beans on all the good stuff and tell everybody what we actually want to know. They're going to tell us what mostly we already know and a few extra things maybe about companions. So there you go.
It looks like they are going to have a Cantina Tour pack, as usual, with a shareable link.
Yeah. Yes, with another of the
another color of the
mount things that are sort of ugly. But
we should guess what color it's going to be. I'm going to say, have they had a green one? I'm going to say it's going to be blue.
So the last one that came out, I don't think we talked about it on the show yet. Our tank in our ops team, Brewdog, noticed before anyone else did and posted it to us or showed it off. There are a few little Easter eggs about the skin on the last version of that mount that came out. So if you look close, you're going to notice some Star Wars Episode 4 little styling on that version of the mount that looks pretty cool. So I'll just leave it at that. Little Easter egg for you. So what else in news?
So the Zakul armor set that's in the cartel market right now, it doesn't include bracers, and apparently that is intentional. So no bracers for that set. It's not a mistake.
That is correct. Should I? So you see, Seema, this armor, it is Zakul, is it not?
It is very cool.
Thank you for for honing in on the joke. I told that in show prep, and Seema said, "It sounds like you're saying it's cool." Yeah. See, jokes are funnier if you explain them.
That's right, isn't it? They are.
Couple other final news items to wrap up the news. There was a bug with Conquest last week. Conquest rewards didn't show up if you did make the top 10 for any of your planets. They are working to fix that. It doesn't sound like they've got it worked out just yet, but they're going to get that fixed for everyone who it was expecting those. They also did a special thing for Season 5 Gold tier reward for PvP. There was the mix-up where a bunch of the PvP mounts went out to people that shouldn't necessarily have gotten them, and they stopped that and they took them out of the mailboxes, but they left anybody that did actually get it and bound it, they let them keep them. However, that devalued the mount as a reward for the people that reached gold tier in PvP rank for Season 5. And to make up for that, they issued a new PvP reward with an extra special Nexu mount skin associated with it for those people that did reach Season 5 gold tier. So that's nice. They made it good. So that was good on them.
That's good. Yeah.
A little bit of news in ops team work this week. The sup ops team is still going strong. They are good on Wednesday nights, have a full team. Certainly check in with Arvachette if you want to sub in, though. They need a sub once in a while on Wednesdays on the Imperial side. Our Republic team, I think, has an open slot or two, so you could check in with them for the Monday night Republic Ops team. And we had a couple people out this week on our Lords of Light team. That's the Thursday-Sunday team. So we did a few different things. We went back and did hard mode Malafar, hard mode Sparky, ran through Temple of Sacrifice to get some set pieces for people's alts. I think Brew's going to be switching to an assassin tank from his power tech or warrior, whatever he was doing up until this point. He'd like to switch back, so we're getting him geared up in that. And we had a couple people sub in, Easy and Kitty, who are friends and now in AIE on Jedi Covenant. So I wanted to say thanks to those guys for filling in both those nights as a healer and a DPS. And that worked out great.
Then on Tuesday this week, we'll do our normal mandatory fun night. We're going to be on the pub side. We're going to do Terror from Beyond. And we'll do story mode unless the group that shows up seems like it's going to be a hard mode group, and then we'll take a stab at the hard mode.
Yeah, we never have gotten through hard mode because we didn't get to it at a point where we bothered to figure out the mechanics of Operator 9 in particular. So I'll have to read up on it and make sure that we can get it straightened out if we're going to attempt hard mode, just so we know, just so we're not standing around while we're trying to figure out what you do with those colors and the colored probe things that float around and jump in the circle or don't. I don't know. So we'll get it worked out. And of course, wanted to give a shout out and a thanks to the chat room. I think I'm now almost caught up on past winners of our cartel pack drawing that we do after the end of the show. I'm still looking for a PM from Robin Pancakes, who I need some info on, and I think I need some info on the person who won last week, which I don't have in my notes right now. But I did track down Veda on Shadowlands, although it's still going to be a day before that unlocks now that I've tracked him down, know where he's at. And but yeah, thanks everyone for chiming in on Twitter, for following us on YouTube and subscribing there, chiming in on those threads, and certainly talking back and forth in the chat room both before, during, and after the show. That makes it really fun. But with that, I think we've got another little bit of a game to talk about.
This was but a game. The true test is yet to come.
Yes, it's but a game, but a true test to try to get that Wings of the Architect mount. So that's what we wanted to.
That is our goal.
What was that?
I said that is our goal.
That is our goal. So the Wings of the Architect mount is the mount that comes off of the Bestia, or Brontes, Dreadmaster Brontes, who's the Dreadmaster who rules over Dread Fortress. So if you do Dread Fortress on Nightmare mode, she drops the Wings of the Architect mount, which works like a jetpack, so you hover off the ground, and it's got it's got 4 of her hands of Brontes or fingers of Brontes things coming out of the side. So if you've ever seen it, it looks like Doc Ock from Spider-Man a little bit. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty elite, and we wanted to go after it as a group from our ops team's perspective. So we've been doing that the last few weeks, learning those fights. We figured, hey, it's level 55-ish content, even though they tuned it up a little bit to make it something that you would still be a challenge at level 60. We figured, we've done parts of it before. We should be able to get through this without a problem. But that wasn't necessarily the case. There's definitely mechanics that we had to learn, and that's what we're going to give you a rundown of tonight. What are some of those specific mechanics that you need to figure out? Because there's a bunch of things in there that if you do it wrong, it's an insta-kill, insta-wipe for the ops team. So it doesn't matter how overpowered you think you might be. There's stuff you have to do right, otherwise you won't get through it. But I figured to kick it off, we would talk about what else you might get in there. There is some other cool stuff that drops in Nightmare mode. You have a chance, it's not guaranteed, but you have a chance of getting the Corruptor Blade off of Corruptor Zero, that's bound to Legacy when it drops too, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
I believe so. So it's a really nice two-handed sword thing that Corruptor Zero waves around that you can get on any lightsaber wielding character can use those, or companions, I guess. Draxus drops a Deep Crest Subtoroth, which is a little deep Subtoroth pet, and those are always cool looking pets. I like those. And there's the Holocron of Fear, Holocron of Dread. One of the Holocron decos is the deco that drops throughout the place. And it does drop 186 gear. So if you're still looking for set pieces, although I guess it would be the old set bonus, wouldn't it?
Right, but some classes do pursue those older bonuses.
Right. So if you want to go after the 2-piece set bonus, for example, and keep the 2 and 4 from the current set and the 2-piece from the old set, that's a place you can get them. And then, of course, also commendations still drop, and achievements. If you're not capped on comms like I always tend to be, then you can certainly get some comms there too.
You're captain capped.
So besides the mount itself, the Wings of the Architect, do you have any of that stuff? Do you have that pet yet, Seema?
Actually, I thought I did have the pet.
I have a
but
couple
I don't.
Subtoroths, but I don't think I have the Deep Crest.
Yeah, I think it dropped once or twice for us, but I clearly did not win the roll. But yeah, the Deep Crest Subtroth from Draxus, I've seen it a couple times. We've seen the Corruptor Blade a couple times, but I don't roll on that because I have like the laser pistol, pew pew. That's what I do.
Yeah, I haven't rolled on it either. But I would.
And I have a couple of the decos, I'm sure.
Yes.
Because those are the same ones you get when you're doing it story mode as well.
Right. Although I haven't
Right.
seen it.
Yeah.
They've been pretty stingy on those.
Yeah, they have been for us. That's true.
I mean, when you compare it to, so we went back and did Rishi. We did story mode Ravagers this week, and we must have had 8 of those Hollow Dancers drop. It was unbelievable. And Easy and Kharid didn't have that many of them, so we just made them take them all. But
You forced them to take them.
it was crazy. But I haven't seen one of the holocrons. Maybe we've had one in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, they do seem more rare.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So, besides that, yeah, I wouldn't mind getting that pet, and we all certainly want the Wings of the Architect mount. But to get there, you have to go through a few bosses. So the first boss is Nefra, and we used to do Nefra. We used to do Nightmare Nefra back in the old days. Nefra was always easy. So there was only a couple extra mechanics that you needed to worry about on Nefra. Certainly the easiest of any of the fights, even at level. You do have to worry about, there's a tank swap that's a little bit extra. The dot ticks harder, so you have to clear that off a little bit quicker. The droids, they jump at you instead of running over to you, so you have a little less time to get out of their red circle. And then the main thing that's different is she starts building up these stacks of Nightmare Twin Attack. And when she gets to 15, the tanks need to turn her into the group, and there needs to be a group standing in close up to be able to take that Nightmare Twin Attack. And then it'll clear the stacks and everybody can spread out again. So we were doing that back in the day. That still isn't very tough. We've always one-shot that, even back in the day, didn't we, Seema? So I don't see anything difficult about that.
Pretty much.
So after that, you go and you do Draxus and Draxus. So Draxus was our realization that it certainly is nightmare mechanics, and it's something we do need to
we went running into Draxus, and then we were like, oh, I guess we have to figure out what's going on in this fight.
Yeah, exactly. We were like, yeah, whatever. We'll just no problem.
We'll just kill him.
We don't need to. Don't read the strats. Yeah. We know what to do. It'll be a little bit harder. We'll just get it done. No, that's not the case. And there's a lot of things that are different. And that fight has what, 8 or 9 waves as it is. So for them to throw in like something different in every wave is like a whole bunch of stuff that you then need to figure out. And Draxus is standing there, right? You shoot Draxus, everybody shoots him for about 5 seconds, and he takes off. He rockets up into the air. And then all those little SWTORs come running in. And, if you didn't know, you just do like normal. You stack up all the SWTORs and you AoE them down. Well, even the SWTORs are nightmares these days. So they have a stacking debuff that each time it stacks up, you get double the damage of the SWTOR explosion when it happens. So if you have 9, then you get like 20,000% damage and take like 1,000,000 damage when the last SWTOR blows up on you.
Yes. So
no, you can't survive it. Now, you can survive it with Saber Reflect or Force Shroud tricks. You can do that. So Brew does it with Saber Reflect. He does group up all the SWTORs. But if you don't do that, you do need to spread them out and single target. And each person sort of needs to take one. You need to take them away from the tanks. You can't let them blow up on more than 2 of them blow up on somebody.
But that was only the first Rude Awakening.
Only the first of many for good old Draxus. So then what was next? So you get the Corruptors. The Corruptors are the dudes who cast the dot, and you want to interrupt that. The dot's not terrible. It's certainly survivable at 60. I almost wonder if we should just we're so used to interrupting, we can interrupt it, but you can't interrupt them twice. The same person can't interrupt them twice. Now, at 60, you probably have enough DPS where they only need to be interrupted once anyway. So if you interrupt them, just remember someone else has to come interrupt them if you need to interrupt a second time. So at level, this was pretty tough. You had to have like a rotation, and everybody had to know who they're going to interrupt the first time, and then they have to like move over and interrupt a different one the second time, and yada, yada, yada. So there's that. Then there's the Bulwarks with the shields. And they have 2 new special mechanics associated with them. One is if you're in melee range of the Bulwarks, then you can't get healed. So that's nice. So you have to figure that out, and you have to sort of step out away from them to the edge of the shield or outside the shield to get any heals if you start getting low. And then if they finish their cast, they've got this cast, they're casting the shield. If they finish the cast, then they enrage and start doing bad things to the ops team. So that's not great.
No.
Then what's next? Everything hits harder. So then there's those big purple Guardian slams. Those definitely hit harder. That's not a huge deal. The healer that shows up in wave 8, he heals harder. So you totally have to kill him, or he'll just keep healing and everything, and you'll never get that wave down. There was a thing. Oh, when the dismantlers come out. So the dismantlers are the guys that come out and they do the swipe and they do and they knock you back. and then you can't get hit a second time because they put a debuff on you. They still go down pretty quick, and it's not really a problem at level 60. But they did this thing where one of the dismantlers has red lightsabers, and one of the dismantlers has blue lightsabers. And the guy with the blue lightsabers hits 3 times as hard as the guy with the red lightsabers. So, especially when you're doing it at level, you didn't know which side it was going to come out. You had to make sure, you couldn't just say, I'm going to take the one on the left. If you had, you know, say a tankier DPS that was going to be taking aggro off of that one, you had to make sure that whoever was higher in health and maybe had some armor or could shield themselves, they're the ones that went to the dude with the blue lightsaber and yada, yada, yada again. So there's that, and then what? So we had to figure out how to kill the healer, and we got that down. And we switched up how we used to do it in story mode and hard mode as well, didn't we?
Killing the healer, you mean? Because we used to CC it, but I think he's not CCable anymore.
Right, immune to CC, yeah. And we used to just put like one person on them to maybe throw an interrupt off, and now we have the healers take the dismantlers that round, which we did not used to do, so that everybody can go and just hammer that healer down, and then run real quick up to the bulwarks to make sure we get those guys down before their cast goes off.
Oh, I knew we had the healers on the dismantlers, but I didn't realize that was in order to kill the healer.
Yep, to kill the healer and the bulwarks all in time. Because if you don't kill that healer, the healer will heal the bulwarks too.
Yeah,
which is a pain.
And then if they don't get down in time, they do something bad, right?
Yes, they enrage if they get their cast completed, and they can kill people even at level 60.
Really fun fight. I mean, we had a great time like figuring it out and finally getting him down. Yeah,
not terrible, and you're still a little bit overpowered, so you can get around things hitting hard and doing extra damage. That's not a problem, and you've got the DPS, so enrage isn't a problem. But just figuring out those mechanics. Oh, the last one was Draxus himself. You can't even damage him. He's a shield until every single ad is dead.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Good times.
Like we used to kill ads until his shield was down, and then we would turn and kill him and then finish up the ads. But now you have to kill all the ads first before you can damage him.
We call that sweep the leg. When you just ignore everything else, you ignore the ads, and you just go after the boss and get him down. We yell it out in ops. Sweep the leg! But you can't do that with Draxus. You have to kill him. You have to kill all the ads and do all the things first. So that's Draxus. What about Grob'thok?
Well, that was fun because the first time we did Grob'thok, we found out that the magnet kills you because Max ran in and jumped on the Max and Spherix ran in and jumped on the magnet, and then they were dead.
Yep.
That made my day.
That's the very first thing I did. Ran in and ran right there to the magnet. Good times. I still do it every time we run in there. Just die. Because, jump in all the things. What else is the fun stuff with Grob'thok, though? So Grob'thok's the big mecha rancor-ish dude who is very cool in his own way.
Like he's been put together by, car parts and parts from a junkyard. He's like the salvage rancor.
And the mechanics are pretty close in Nightmare mode, but they've upped just a couple things. They've ratcheted up a couple things, like the magnet kills you. You get 2, whatever the drill thing is that makes you drop the lava. 2 people get that instead of 1. The Ugnaughts have some special stuff associated with those guys too. They have to be kited into the lava, because they're immune until you do that, and then that drops their shield. His roar has a knockback now, which messes with the tank positioning, and his pipe smash is a big deal even at level 60. You take 2 or 3 pipe smashes and it can kill you. The second pipe smash, if he gets off a second pipe smash and there's Ugnaughts close to him, the Ugnaughts, wherever the Ugnaughts are, they blow up. So if the Ugnaughts are close to you and he gets a second pipe smash hit, tick of his pipe smash off before you get him in the magnet, and you're close to the Ugnaughts, you can die from that. But the hardest thing there, which is the reason I didn't want to tank it this week, is it's a big learning curve for the tanks. So in order to really have him positioned well, you need to be making sure again that you're trying not to get only like one hit of the pipe smash on the only one hit of the pipe smash off. You need to have him in the exact right place for when the magnet's going to sweep by. And the tanks are also doing the tank swap and they're getting knocked back at the same time, so it makes it a little difficult. So what the tanks have worked out, and you can find this in a couple guides, is the place that the magnet goes around in a rectangle around the outside of the arena. And if you pull Grob'thok, once the magnet gets like halfway down the one side where we all sort of start to stand, then the timing works out, because the pipe smash is on a timer. The timing works out to to be timed for the magnet to hit a few different places around the map in the same sequence every time for when you're going to need to have Grob'thok in that place for the times that he does pipe smash. I may not be explaining this exactly clearly. So we pull it when the magnet's halfway down, and if we pull it at the right time, then we know at the first pipe smash he's going to be at 7 o'clock. At the second pipe smash he's going to be at 2 o'clock. At the third pipe smash he's going to be at 5 o'clock. And the tanks can even mark with a raid marker as they're getting ready exactly where they know he needs to be when the timer goes off for that pipe smash. If they pull him at exactly the right time, then everything is set. If you miss a magnet and you start running around, and then the timing gets all off and it makes everything much more difficult, and he gets multiple pipe smashes off and people can die. So it is a learning curve for the tanks. They do need to understand exactly where each of those points are, where he's going to need to be, and you need to pull him at the right time. It's learning that dance of where are each of those points on the map for each of the times that he's going to cast pipe smash. Once you get that worked out, then you can get that fight down, which is what we've got at this point. I took took a few tries though to get that worked out and figure out where those were at.
Then for deep ranged and the healers, there's a cross in the middle of the floor, and if you stay inside that cross, you know the magnet will never get you. So I stay inside that cross unless I have to step out of it because somebody goes out of range, but I will just always look over my shoulder, see where the magnet is, run out, do my thing, run back, always run back to the cross. Never get stuck outside of the cross because that magnet can really sneak up on you.
So that is Grob'thok. That leaves two bosses. One was our nemesis from hard mode, when we used to be doing it in hard mode, and that is Corruptor Zero. But, I don't know, what do you think, Seema? My view is that Corruptor Zero is now the second easiest boss in that place at this point.
Maybe it's because we have so much practice.
Yeah, and the things that are added for Nightmare, they probably would have really sucked at level, like the extra beams and the 2 concussion mines.
Right.
But besides that, once you work out, so he does that big laser that goes all the way across the room. He jumps up in the air. He lands in one random place around the four cross ends of the hallways of the room where you're in, and he shoots a laser across. At level 60, you can even stand in that laser, and if you get hit by it, it isn't necessarily an instant death. You often will die, especially if you're low and it's in the middle of the fight, but I know people in our ops team that stand in it on purpose, so
No way. Yes way.
But he does it at the start of the fight and at 70% and at 35%, and then at the end he does it 4 times. So in hard mode he only did it at the end 4 times. So it throws in some extra ones of those. The other thing, there's the thing that's called the concussion mine. And the concussion mine used to be, everybody would we used to do it where everybody would be spread out and one person would get the concussion mine and they would run in, and you have to, the concussion mine starts exploding once every 1.5 seconds or once a second. You have to stand on Corruptor Zero for the concussion mine then to clear off of you. It has to blow up on Corruptor Zero for it to clear off of you and stop doing damage to your whole ops team. The trick in Nightmare mode is there's 2 concussion mines that get cast, and if 2 people are standing next to each other and you both have the concussion mine, then it's an automatic wipe for the ops team.
Right. It's like not only just 2 concussion mines, but wait, there's more. So the trick there is the person who's farthest away from Corruptor Zero will be one of the people that gets the concussion mine. I don't know if it's the second farthest or if it's just random after that, but someone else gets the concussion mine also. So the way we do it is everyone except one person stacks up on Corruptor Zero and one person's out. So one person gets their concussion mine cleared off instantly. Once that one's cleared, the person who's further out just runs in and clears it, and it's not a problem. Yeah.
Otherwise, the rest of the fight is pretty much business as usual. It's not a big deal. And yeah.
That's right.
So that one was not tough at all. But that leads us to Brontes. And
Yes.
Brontes, I'd say she's probably the toughest fight in there. From what I've heard, we're not done with it yet. So we will speak from a position of authority. However,
Right. We haven't actually downed her yet, but we have her on farm.
yes, we count it as on farm. We've gotten to the last phase a couple times. We ran out of time last week. We'll have her down this week. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. We've got our strategy worked out for all the phases, because there's 4 phases with an interesting transition between each of the phases is what you have to work out. So it's 4 or 6 phases depending on how you sort of count it. But we've worked it out. It's the last phase though that you need to, it's a burn phase. You need to burn hard and you need to worry about a couple extra things. But they did add a bunch of extra things into the nightmare mode, even over hard mode or story mode especially, that make it difficult. So what did they add, Seema?
They added balls.
They added
No,
balls. So when someone gets balls during your group, you need to yell out over your voice chat the person's name and yell and tell everyone that they've got balls. That's just the way it works. So yeah, there's the lightning spheres that are floating across the room, and they have an interesting mechanic where as soon as they spawn, they have sort of like a stacking buff or stacking debuff on the sphere itself that starts at 1 and it goes up to 20. You want to wait until they get up to about 15 stacks before, and they're tied to a particular person. So I'd say, Seema's got balls. That means one of these lightning spheres is tracking across the room. It's going to follow Seema until it blows up. If Seema steps into it when it's only got 1 stack, it's going to do maximum damage, and that can be 45k of damage. So that's not great.
Except I never get them, but
Seema doesn't have balls.
no, but seriously, I don't think the healers can, because I never have gotten them.
Really? That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, that's no fun.
speculation. I mean, not completely sure on that, but yeah.
So what you want to do is you want to wait till it gets up to about 15 stacks or so, and then you run into it, you just keep it out of the rest of the group, and you explode it. In the first phase, what are you doing? You shoot her. Oh, it's the hands and the fingers. So the tanks are tanking the big hands. You shoot the little fingers. You shoot the big hands. Yada yada yada. You go through a couple rounds of the hands going underground. You're starting to get the lightning balls during that phase as well. And then at the end of that, the transition to phase 2 is where you get that fun phase where 2 fingers show up at or 2 hands show up at the feet of 2 random people in the operations group, and a long beam of lightning connects to those 2 fingers wherever they are in the whole room. And if you're standing in melee range of the finger or anywhere in the intersecting lightning beam, then you die. It's an insta-kill.
That's right.
the little extra bonus they did is everyone slowed to like 20% walking speed as well.
Yes. So it's a very stately phase.
So supposedly there's some mechanic where everybody can stack up right on top of each other in a group, and then if everyone walks together, then all the fingers will just show up right on top of the group, but everyone will be walking evenly in step and stepping away from them. We couldn't get that to work. So
yeah, that was not our ideal strat, not for us anyway.
So we just did it our old way, which is everybody stays spread out. When that last hand of the previous phase goes down, everyone's pretty much spread out to the outside of the room, and then everyone just starts walking clockwise, slowly, and then we all stay alive and nobody dies. So we do it that way.
Just swivel your camera, then you always know where it is, and there is time. Just if it forms under your feet, there is time to just keep on walking, and you'll be out of it.
I got time.
Yeah. Yeah, you got time.
Then the next phase is Kephis, the Kephis phase. And that's pretty much the same. That's not that big a deal. You have to do a little more cleansing. You have to worry about Kephis jumping and makes a big red circle. And you still have balls that phase too. But
yes, the balls reappear.
The other crazy phase, though, is the transition to phase 3, which is where she shoots her long beam of lightning at the door. And then it starts ticking around like a clock. And you have to kill any of, then she has five or six droids that spawn, and you have to kill the droids before that lightning beam hits any one of the droids. If it hits a droid, it's a wipe for the ops team. It's an insta-kill. The trick is it can tick clockwise or counterclockwise, and it's random in Nightmare. So you can all get ready, and you think you're going to go after one droid, or you're just standing in the middle, wondering which it's going to be. If you choose wisely, then you get the droid down. If you choose poorly, then the beam gets to the droid. And even at high DPS at 60, you got to be concentrating, and you got to have DPS on it. You also can't, get antsy and move ahead to the next droid and leave one of the droids up, and that happened a couple times because it's an insta-kill.
That's right. That's right. Like the tanks and the healers will sometimes be moving on to the next droid, but DPS cannot be influenced by that. They have to hang back and make sure they kill it.
Right. So then the third phase is where 2 hands pop up and the 6 fingers pop up in the middle of the room, and that one's a little different and tricky again. The Nightmare mechanic is those fingers now have a knockback, and you can't get knocked back twice by the same finger. So after you get knocked back, everybody then needs to rotate the finger that they're on from the 6. So the tanks are on the 2 big hands, the 4 DPS and the 2 healers are on the 6 fingers. You get a knockback, everyone has to rotate. You have to keep DPSing down, you get knocked back, you rotate again, you keep DPSing down. We had to learn that dance a little bit, but we figured that out.
And during that phase, the tanks are killing the balls, right, with the hands?
Yes, the tanks are slapping the balls with their hands. What? Was that not clear?
I walked right into that one.
So yes, the balls on the tank side need to be squashed. The lightning spheres need to be squashed with the hand that the tanks are tanking. So be careful of the knockbacks and get those lightning spheres squashed, and you'll be fine. And that leads you then to the final phase, which is the burn phase. There's 2 big hands that spawn during this phase, and Brontes is doing this new ability where she starts stacking a stacking debuff on individuals. I forgot what it's called. But once that gets up to 15, then everyone needs to be running to one of the hands that's under a shield. You kill the hand, and the shield then shields you, cleanses that debuff off of you, and helps you with some of the extra difficult lightning balls that are floating around at that point too, that the tanks are trying to smash with hands. So she heals herself up a little bit, At 35% is when you kill a hand and get that ball's that debuff cleansed off of you. At 24%, you do it again at the other hand, because there's two of them with these shields. You kill the hand, the shield cleanses you. Then from 24 to 0 is burn, burn, burn. You turn on Yakety Sax on your on your music playlist, and you do what we call taco hard.
Yeah, that's right. You taco hard and get her down, which we have not done that yet. So we've made it to the burn phase once or twice, but yeah. So that's basically where we are now on that fight.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't think we're gonna have much trouble with it. We have a lot of DPS. We have tanks now who've got it figured out what they're gonna be doing at that point. So we will get that down this week, is my prediction. Now we're running out of weeks, I think, to get everyone a Wings of the Architect by the time the new expansion drops. But we'll have a bunch of people who will have it, which will be nice. So anything to wrap it up? Any final tips from you, Seema? On
I was just surprised how easy the reach of Brontes turned out to be. When I heard there was going to be a slow effect when you're trying to get away from that lightning forming at your feet, I thought, oh gosh, this is going to be hellish. But it actually, once we figured out how to do it, it's not bad at all, and it's very repeatable.
Right. Once we went back to our old way of doing it, we were just fine, which is just spread out and walk clockwise.
I think just in general, doing this content is really fun because it's new for us because we never did all these mechanics. It's pure execution, so it's like the fun part of ops without the pressure of not having the gear yet, not having enough DPS or healing to really pull it off. So yeah, it's like practice nightmare mode, which it's fun.
Yeah, you don't have to be running a meter, and you don't have to be looking at everyone's DPS and healing per second and worry about that pressure. You can focus on the mechanics, which is pretty cool. So I would recommend, so we know in Fallen Empires on October 27th, these operations will go to level 65, and we'll still have a nightmare mode at level 65 for Dread Fortress and Dread Palace. So I would recommend, if people are interested, to get in there and try it out now for two reasons. One, it's probably a little easier to complete now than it will be after October 27th. So if you do want to try to get your ops team through it and get a couple of those Wings of the Architect, you may be able to do that before the 27th. Two, you can start learning those mechanics if you do actually want to do it at level 65 at some point. Now is a good time to learn those mechanics, because you probably will have to worry about DPS and healing at 65. Once you've got the mechanics and a strat down, it'll be easier to focus on tuning up that aspect of your game. But I think that sums it up. And I think with that, our EPC 105 droid is bound on equipped to that escape pod, and he's also bound for the cold vacuum of space. So thanks to all of you for joining us on either newoverlords.com or on iTunes or YouTube or on Twitch in the chat room. We will stream again next Monday night on twitch.tv/newoverlords around 10:30 p.m. Central. Please follow us on Twitter at MaxTheGray and at AIESEMA. And certainly find us on Jedi Covenant and ask us for an AIE Guild invite. We would be happy to have you. And we will talk to you soon.
Later, guys.